The first thing you need to understand is that I didn't go looking for Purgatory Falls. It found me. That's not its real name, obviously. The town had a different name once, something carved into a granite slab that's probably still standing somewhere in that godforsaken valley. But the locals, the ones who lived within 50 miles of it, they called it Purgatory Falls for reasons that should have been obvious to anyone with half a brain. The waterfall that fed the town's main river sounded like screaming if you listened long enough. And nothing that went into those woods ever came out quite the same. I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Daniel Cross. I'm a cartographer by trade, which is a fancy way of saying I draw maps for people who get lost in places they shouldn't be. For the past 12 years, I've worked for a small firm in Portland, Oregon, specializing in topographic surveys of remote wilderness areas. It's quiet work, solitary, the kind of job that lets you pretend the world isn't collapsing in on itself. My friend Marcus, he called me 3 days before we drove out to the forest. We'd known each other since college, back when we both thought we'd end up doing something meaningful with our lives. He was a journalist who'd gotten burned out on the news cycle, the endless churn of tragedy and outrage that left everyone feeling helpless and numb. He'd started doing freelance work, investigative pieces about environmental disasters, corporate cover-ups, that kind of thing. Dan, you need to see this, he said over the phone. I could hear the excitement in his voice.
What do you mean it doesn't exist? I mean, I pulled it from a classified geological survey from the 1970s. It shows a town in the middle of the Deschutes National Forest that no one's ever heard of. No records of it anywhere. No census data, no incorporation papers, no mention in any newspaper archive I can find. It's like the place was erased. I remember leaning back in my chair, staring at the rain-streaked window of my office. It was November, the kind of gray Pacific Northwest day that made you forget the sun had ever existed. Marcus, there are lots of old logging towns that got abandoned. They don't always make it into the records. This isn't a logging town, Dan. The map shows it as having a population of over 2,000 people. Schools, churches, a hospital, all built around this massive waterfall. And then in 1974, it just stops. The next survey from 1975 shows nothing. Just forest. Like the town was never there. I should have hung up right then. I should have told him I was busy, that I had deadlines, that I wasn't interested in chasing ghosts.
Happy people don't just disappear, Marcus said. Something happened there. Something someone wanted to hide. The road ended at a rusted gate, a chain-link barrier that had been bent and twisted, as if something had pushed through it from the other side. Beyond it, the forest closed in like a wall. The pines were massive here, ancient things with bark like armor and branches that blocked out the sky. The air had a stillness to it that felt unnatural, like the woods were holding its breath. We walk from here, Marcus said, grabbing his backpack from the back seat. He'd brought supplies, food, water, a first aid kit, camping equipment. I'd brought my survey instruments and a digital camera. Neither of us had thought to bring anything for protection. We didn't think we'd need it. Marcus, wait. I grabbed his arm as he started toward the gate. This feels wrong. He turned to look at me, and for a moment I saw something flicker in his eyes. Just a little further. Look! He pointed ahead, where the trees thinned out and the ground began to slope downward. I can see the valley! We pushed through the last line of pines and found ourselves standing on the edge of a cliff. Below us, a bowl-shaped valley stretched out like a wound in the earth. At its center, a massive waterfall crashed down from a height of at least 200 feet, its roar filling the air with a sound like distant thunder. And around it, nestled in the valley floor, was the town. It was exactly as the map had shown it. Rows of buildings, streets laid out in a grid pattern, a church steeple rising above the rooftops.
From this distance, it looked like a perfect preserved diorama of small-town America. But as we descended into the valley, the illusion began to crack. The first thing I noticed was the silence. The waterfall was deafening.